Hi, I'm Jeanette, the North Down Coach. I'm glad you're with me today as I continue my series of videos focused on what comes next after layoff. And as I've shared before, this has been inspired by some real-time layoffs that occurred in late July at Stanford University, a place that immediately before I started my own business in coaching, I had worked for a good 15 years. And so I've really been feeling the impact with how this is affecting people that really have mattered that I had a chance to work with over the years, and just the stellar caliber of staff members at the university. And so I am continuing this series where I highlight different ideas that can support, what if you're in this group, as well as the concept of, well, what about if you are remaining? What difference does that make in terms of, how your life is impacted? And I would say it does make a difference. Today, we continue the series focusing on if you're in the affected group of receiving a layoff package, what can you do? And what I want to offer in today's video is maybe what feels counterintuitive. I think that it might feel counterintuitive because my experience in talking to my clients over the years, as well as some of the people most recently affected by the layoff, is that the intuitive, the sort of the way we go when we receive the news of the layoff is to jump right into, all right, okay, I'm going to put some of the emotions that this is bringing up behind me, because the task at hand is I've got to find another position. And so we go right into job search mode. And that means for a lot of people, I've got to update my resume, write the cover letter, find the positions, and start applying into the applicant tracking system for whatever position is available. I would call that the cold applying approach, right? Like you're not making contacts with anybody within the organization. You are applying for jobs. And for many people, what happens is it feels like you're not doing a good job of the job search process unless you're sort of nose to the grindstone, for a good working day. And in some cases, really this idea of beyond the working day, really focused on how many job applications can you submit on a daily basis. So it's a process of finding the jobs, putting those materials together, submitting them, checking that off. Okay, on to the next one. And in several cases of people that I've talked with recently, not even feeling like you can rest, that even the idea of like taking some time off in the evening to do something that would be refreshing and relaxing isn't justifiable at this stage, because it's all about getting the volume of job applications out there. So that's, I think, the intuitive. What I want to offer today is don't start there, because though it can feel like you're being productive in the job search because you've got X number of applications out there, the question is, are they actually effective? So what I want to offer is a counterintuitive but more effective way to structure your time, is to think about using your network and making connections to expand your network at this stage. Now, I'm not talking about the icky feeling of reaching out to people to say, hey, can you help me? Because I'm looking for a job and I really need you to refer me into this position or that position. There's a place for that, but that's not what I'm suggesting here. What I'm suggesting here is slow down the process and reassess what doing a full days of work in the job search process really looks like. And what I'd offer is, if you can slow down and think about the search from a place of curiosity and the opposite of scarcity, plenty, that there are so many different opportunities out there and ways to put the puzzle pieces together for figuring out that next step, that you really need to take that pause to assess which one is the one I want to go, which direction, or, several of these different strategies might be useful at this point. And so thinking about this first step of reaching out to people and people you don't know. Maybe people, they're connections of people that you know, that would be useful for you to get to know in this process, or complete strangers that you reach out to. But the idea is to fuel this step of the process, excuse me, fuel this step of the process with curiosity rather than with scarcity and fear. And so the curiosity is about, well, all right, here's what I've done so far. Here's my experience and my expertise and my interests and the values around what a good place, an organization, a setting would be for me. Now, how do I want to assemble those puzzle pieces together in maybe a new and exciting way that I hadn't had opportunity to do in the previous role, or an expansion of that? And so the idea here is having that mindset of curiosity and possibility drive conversations with people who, one, could be very close colleagues, could be colleagues that you are a little bit further away from, but people that you have had some exposure to in the past, and new people who you could entertain informational conversations around. All right, well, I'd love, your thoughts about where I am at this process, and, maybe some kinds of opportunities that I might not have thought about. Could we spend a few minutes together just, exploring that? An alternative to that idea is to approach the conversation with, oh, I really am interested in what you're doing. Could you tell me more about, what's your journey been into that position? What experiences were really instrumental for you to find success in this role? What are some of the things that you really enjoy about it? What are some of the things that, are not as enjoyable? How would you do this differently if you had it to do again at this point? So really feeling just a huge number of different kind of questions that, first of all, has the person starting to brainstorm with you and develop, a little bit of a engagement in the success of you moving forward, engagement that could cause them to want to connect you to other people in their network, to be looking out for opportunities for you, and maybe within their very own organization to spot those opportunities and to help you in the introduction. Now, all of that is so hard to capture in terms of, did I do a good work day, right? So much harder than, yes, here's one application, here's another application, let me count them all up. This sort of an approach is more ambiguous in terms of, was that successful or not? What did that lead to? Because I can't track it immediately into this next job opportunity. However, it's so much more valuable in terms of how you're utilizing your time when you look at it in the longer term. You never know how the parts and pieces are going to fit together to lead to the thing that's going to be next. That could be a very interesting new and very profitable new direction for you. And so the idea is, stop counting success and punishing yourself in this part of the process by, I've got to sit at my desk and just churn out these applications. Start thinking from a place of plenty and curiosity around, well, let's look at what else is out there and how can we look at this from a true sense of opportunity. If you are having a hard time thinking about this in a way that would apply to your situation in particular, I would be happy to engage with you in a free, no strings attached, 45-minute kind of strategy sort of a session. I'll drop a link in the description box so that you can schedule that time. Again, no strings attached, just a chance to, brainstorm with somebody who, has expertise in this area. So that's it for this week. I hope that that has provided that kind of shift in how you might look at how you're structuring your time in the job search process. And also give yourself the time to count these things as successes, right, as a full day, and give yourself the time that you need for rest and reflection and rejuvenation. All right, thanks for watching. I hope you have a good week ahead, and I will see you again next week. Take care, everybody.